Russian troops are facing an unexpected problem. The enemy is losing more military personnel than it has time to mobilize. The enemy is already beginning to feel the shortage of personnel at the front. Military experts, especially for Channel 24, explained how the defense forces manage to destroy the occupants at a huge pace, what consequences this will have for Putin's army, and what should be done to make Russian losses even greater. The West notes the high efficiency of Ukraine's use of drones on the front. In some areas, enemy losses are allegedly 25 times higher than those of the defense forces. Military observer Ivan Tymochko noted that drones have indeed become a powerful weapon against the Russians, but scaling them up requires time and significant resources. Assessments of foreign partners regarding the large losses of the Russian Federation strengthen confidence in the actions of the AFU and contribute to the adoption of political decisions in favor of Ukraine, the military observer said. Timochko also noted that weather conditions contribute to the results. Cold and frost complicate the movement of the occupants, making them easier targets. In addition, the Ukrainian military takes into account the changing tactics of the enemy, which relies on infantry and uses the acquired experience to predict its actions. At the same time, the observer emphasized that it is important not only to destroy the enemy forces on the front line, but also to hit the rear and logistics, because it reduces its capabilities and presence in the occupied territories. Lieutenant Colonel, head of the International Military Cooperation Department of the command of the TrO Force Taras Berezovets, said that the enemy is already beginning to experience a shortage of personnel. Previously, the enemy formation on the territory of Ukraine was maintained at a stable level of 710 to 711,000. However, over the past month, the Russians have not been covering their own losses. Defense Minister Mikhail Fedorov's ambitious goal of destroying 50,000 occupiers every month has every chance of being realized. That will make it much more difficult for the Russians to continue fighting and conducting new offensives on different parts of the front. Berezovets is convinced. We recall that Ukrainian Defense Minister Mikhail Fedorov said that the destruction of 50,000 Russian invaders is one of Ukraine's strategic goals in the war. This should force Russia to make peace. At the same time, Volodymyr Zelensky said that such a task is difficult but realistic and optimal for Ukraine. For example, for December 2025, the occupiers lost more than 35,000 personnel. This is the highest figure for the entire time of a full-scale war. The AFU Reserve Colonel, flight instructor and military expert Roman Svitan noted that the Ukrainian army should focus on a defensive strategy. The Russians are constantly trying to attack, so the defense forces need to create a kill zone of up to 30 kilometers to minimize the losses of our personnel. The ratio of losses can be 1 to 100. It is precisely to losses of this level that we would strive, Svitan added. The enemy will continue to advance. The Russians themselves will climb into this kill zone, and it will become much easier to destroy them there. There are 5 options at once: mines, FPV drones, small arms, aviation, and artillery. The example of Kupiansk was illustrative because there the Russians crawled over to the right bank without creating a serious operational bridgehead. Retired U.S. Air Force General and Air Force expert Dave Deptula says that wars are fought not only on battlefields, but also in perceptions and narratives that influence political will and economic expectations. Putin understands this. His strategy now depends less on decisive success on the battlefield and more on convincing the world, particularly the United States, that a Russian victory is inevitable, that further support for Ukraine is futile, and that pragmatic Americans would be wiser to prepare for a beneficial normalization than a prolonged confrontation, he said. According to the expert, at the tactical level, Ukraine has a favorable loss ratio, which ranges from 2 to 5 to 1 to 7 to 1, and in some battles this ratio is even higher. Even when Russian troops advance a few kilometers, they do so with huge losses. The casualty figures underscore 2 basic realities. First, Russia is willing to pay an extraordinary price in human lives for minor territorial gains. Second, time plays in Moscow's favor. Only if Ukraine's defenses erode faster than Russia's human resources and industrial base, the retired U.S. Air Force general explained.
Iran and the United States leaned into gunboat diplomacy on Thursday as nuclear talks between the nations hung in the balance, with Tehran holding drills with Russia and the Americans bringing another aircraft carrier closer to the Mideast. According to Associated Press, the Iranian drill and the arrival of the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier near the mouth of the Mediterranean Sea underscore the tensions between the nations. Iran earlier this week also launched a drill that involved live fire in the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow opening of the Persian Gulf through which a fifth of the world's traded oil passes. The drill Thursday saw Iranian forces and Russian sailors conduct operations in the Gulf of Oman and the Indian Ocean, Iran's state-run IRNA news agency reported. The drill will be aimed at upgrading operational coordination as well as exchange of military experiences, IRNA added. China had joined the security belt drill in previous years, but there was no acknowledgement it participated in this round. In recent days, a vessel that appeared to be a Starogashchi-class Russian corvette had been seen at a military port in the Iranian city of Bandar Abbas. Iran also issued a rocket fire warning to pilots in the region, suggesting they planned to launch anti-ship missiles in the exercise. Meanwhile, tracking data showed the Ford off the coast of Morocco in the Atlantic Ocean midday Wednesday, meaning the carrier could transit through Gibraltar and potentially station in the eastern Mediterranean with its supporting guided missile destroyers. Having the carrier there could allow American forces to have extra aircraft and anti-missile power to potentially protect Israel and Jordan should a conflict break out with Iran. The U.S. similarly placed warships there during the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip to protect against Iranian fire.